This is Jeffrey Babbitt, and this is a proposal for a study on serving the functionally diverse with mental health issues. People with mental health issues are a community with information needs as legitimate and important as any community. The difference is their needs are sometimes compounded with emotional and mental distress. In the current environment, it's not entirely surprising that there's a lack of needs assessment of this community in the literature. So this will necessarily be an exploratory study focusing on these research questions. What are the basic information behaviors of this population? How does this population perceive public libraries? And what barriers exist that get in the way of fulfilling those information needs? To define a couple of terms, mental health issues I define as extreme states of mental and emotional distress, such as anxiety, depression, delusions, hallucinations, etc. And the functionally diverse I will be explaining in the context of the literature review. The literature deals with three basic categories of issues, including the community, which comprises about 1 in 5 of the U.S. population. One of the current ways of thinking about it is this community is part of what they call the functionally diverse, which is a broader group of people who function differently than the majority, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or in other ways. Secondly, librarians' attitudes toward this community are generally negative. But there's evidence that this is turning around. Over 70% of the librarians surveyed by Presley were interested in improving service to this community by learning more about it. Thirdly, the community's library needs. One article focused on mental health literacy and the importance of it in reducing stigma. Another focused on the library as a place of refuge. Almost none of these articles drew data directly from the community. So this will be a single observation quantitative study using survey questionnaire. The population is about 1,000 people who are clients of the Van Buren Community Mental Health in Paw and Interact in Kalamazoo, who are receiving services in March 2019. The sample will be self-selected and therefore non-probability. I'm developing a questionnaire which asks about library use and use of other sources of information and perceptions of the library. I am compensating for the lack of established validity with a few different things, including feedback from research and mental health experts and a pretest with a small sample from CMH about 2 months before the main study. I'm taking care to make sure my language can be understood by people with cognitive difficulties and less than a high school education, and I'm making the questionnaire available online and on paper so that internet access is not a barrier. During data analysis, I will use, among other things, multinomial logical regression, which is a way of taking the nominal and ordinal level data and seeing if there are significant relationships among the variables. At the end of this, I will be able to describe this community's library use and use of other information sources and perceptions of the library, and I'm hoping that libraries can use this information to improve services to this community. Topics for future studies may include replication to determine if the findings are valid in other settings, the design and evaluation of interventions to address the needs revealed by this study, and qualitative research that could focus on understanding more deeply the reasons for the community's perceptions of public libraries and the way that these perceptions affect interactions. At any rate, I'm hoping that this contributes to hopefully a growing body of literature on the needs and desires of the functionally diverse with mental health issues, with data collected directly from the community. And that concludes my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.